guys, right, Nigel here, different angle, trying a new thing. I've got the camera mounted on the wall now, so I can have different angles, so I thought I'd give this one a go. I've just done a little clip actually for a tool review, and I call this Frankie Day style. I was watching a video last night actually by Spencer Pollard, and he had the camera way back. You could sort of see all of him, which I thought maybe I should try, but then I looked at my body and I thought maybe I shouldn't, you know, there's quite a lot of it to get in. So this is all about another Hellcat build, a second Hellcat build. Now, as you may or may not know, if I build a model of American aircraft, I like to do it in an American scheme. Like, I wouldn't dream of doing a P-51 Mustang in a British scheme. It's an American aircraft, it should be American. I wouldn't do a Spitfire in American, that sort of thing. So basically, looking at this kit, I just keep looking at the FAA version, the Fleet Air Arm version, which is the model I saw. A lovely young lady at Gloucester had built one, and it was way before the kit was released or anything. It was my first sort of time I could touch the model. I'd seen it at Telford, fell in love straight away, but to see it actually built in that scheme and on the table, and I could, you know, pick up pieces of it, and you know, it was just wonderful, and it's sort of been, you know, lodged in there ever since. So I thought, I've got to build one, I've got to. So I went to Antics yesterday and I got another one, and here it is here. You've all seen this before, but there you go. This is another one, and it's brand new kit, and the other one is here, which is just about to put video number 5 up for that one now. It's all clamped up. So it's good actually, because I can work between the two as parts are drying and stuff. Now, the plan at the moment, things always change with me because I can't make my mind up about anything, but the plan at the moment is to build the first one, wings out, undercarriage down, everything open, and have it all sort of, you know, on display and all the detail showing and everything. The only trouble with that is I would like to build it as a you know, on display and big maintenance and everything, but then it wouldn't have any armament on it, and I want to put rockets and stuff on it. So I don't know whether to sort of break the accuracy thing and just build it how I want to, or, you know, keep it accurate and keep the rockets on. I don't know, and keep all the armament off. That means I would have to have empty ammo buckets and that, and the way Airfix have made the ammo belts are beautiful. So I might just do it as I want to, and sort of, if I enter it into a show or anything, I've never had a model in a show, I may do with this one. What I'd like to do is actually have it on display and put a sign in front of it and say, yes, this isn't accurate, it's how I wanted to build it. But, you know, who knows. Now, the plan is for the second one, right here, right now, it will definitely all be closed up. I don't want to have this one all open up and showing its innards either, as well as the other one. And I also may do it wing folded. I've never built an aircraft with the wings folded. I've got 2 of the Revell 1/32 Arado kits, you know, is it the A5, the one with two floats? Got 2 of those kits, and I'm tempted to build one of those wing folded, because I saw one of those that Tigger had built at a show, and it looked amazing with the wings folded. So I may do this, everything closed up in, it's definitely going to be Fleet Air Arm colours, and I may have the wings folded. And I've also been looking around online, and I've noticed there's some with D-Day stripes. Now, I would love to do one of those, so I might see what I can do. I've got stencils and stuff, so I may well do one with D-Day stripes, so that'd look really cool, all folded up. So and I've ordered another AirScale instrument panel set for it, so I really do love the AirScale stuff. So without further ado, as they say, let's get a crack on. And what I will say, anybody who's thinking of building this kit and wants to sort of follow along with me, the other video is me kind of exploring and finding out where to go with it and what we need to do. Like, you'll know that in part 1 it was all about filling ejector pin marks. Well, most of those don't need to be filled. So now I know, and I can tell you in this build, you need to fill this one, this one, this one. These don't matter, and if you're leaving it all closed up, don't worry about any of it. So this one will be better for you to follow along with if you want to build the kit and just get on with it. But if you really want to see me painfully struggle with the other one and super detailing and stuff, then the other one's the one to watch. Or, as many of you say, you have me on in the background, so you may decide to watch both, who knows. But I'm also looking for all the help I can get with this, guys, because I'm asking the question, would it have had English belts, would it have had American belts? And I've had answers coming back saying both ways. So, you know, I don't know. And also, I mean, I suppose I could get hold of someone down at Yeovilton Air Museum and ask them, they'd know. But also I need to know about the undercarriage bay colours and that as well. And some people say it would have been green, some people say it would have been the same colour as the underside. So I just don't know where to go with this. So anyway, let's get on with this build. Right. I'm trying to improve the sound for you guys. I've now got the mic hanging right in front of my face. So if I look directly forward, I can see a microphone. So let's see how this works. What we're trying to do is get the balance right. I'm going to start off, first of all, I've just had a message posted to me from Mike. And basically he's saying that his floor is twisted. This part here, this is part 15. If your floor is twisted on your kit, you've got two options. Look at the rest of the sprue. If the rest of the sprue is twisted as well, get in touch with Airfix. They'll send you another sprue. Their customer service isn't as efficient as Revell, but that's not knocking Airfix, because Revell's customer service is the best of any company I've ever dealt with in my life. Bar none, you know, 100%. They are amazing. But I've had problems with Airfix before. My Typhoon, for instance, as we all know, the canopy had issues. They were all sent out absolutely fine. My Typhoon, somebody had hacked the sprue off the wing. I don't know why, but they had, and they'd actually cut the wing. They sent me another wing, no problem. So they're good as gold, but they're a little bit slower than Revell. I think they're a smaller outfit, aren't they, than Revell? So anyway. The other way you can do it, if you've got a twist in it, is get some hot water in the sink, sort of almost as hot as you can bear to put your hands in. Put it in there, let it sit in there, let it heat soak, and then take it out and just gently twist it until it's right. And what you often have to do is go a bit too far, and then it will come back. And then once it's cooled down, it will set and it will stay there. And then when you actually get it all glued up and into the fuselage, it will be absolutely fine anyway. So if you have got an issue, either get in touch with Airfix or get it in some hot water and cure it yourself. And that applies for anything, especially with resin. If you've got a part that's distorted, put it in hot water, let the heat get into it. Don't try it straight away. Let the heat soak into it, let it soften it, and then just give it a twist. With this plastic so soft, you could probably do it without even heating it. It would just go. But be very, very careful with like HK or Hasegawa. They have potentially quite hard plastic and they're quite brittle, and they will just snap without any warning, just bang, they're gone. So anyway, so just in case I didn't mention it, in my other video with this build where I'm doing the American one, I'll keep calling it the other one. We'll call it the blue one and the FAA one, yeah? Or the blue one and the green one. Although this isn't actually green, is it? But never mind. So just in case you didn't see my other videos, in case I haven't mentioned it, Airfix have engineered this beautifully where you can just put that massive box away, get this sprue out, and this sprue will take you through the whole first 2 pages without even looking back in the box again. So well done, Airfix. I'm not sure if I'd mentioned that before, but I think I have once or twice, I'm not sure. But anyway, so right, if you're building this kit and you want to just follow along and build it quickly, or not have to faff around with me fussing over doing stuff that we don't need to do, this is the build for you. If you want to just see a real in-depth, detailed view of it and me making mistakes, then watch the other one. You might want to watch them both. You may be mad. So this one will basically look at what we need to do and what we don't need to do. The first thing to do is these 3 parts here, 1, 2 and 3, mark them up. And what I've done, I've got a magic marker and I've just gone inside and I've put 1 in there, 2 in there and 3 in there. Okay, they'll be inside, they'll be hidden, they don't need to be painted or anything, they'll never be seen on the finished model. But just in case, if you forget and you nip them off, they are different. So you need, I know they look the same. I think these 2 might be the same, but that one's different, as you can see. Don't get them mixed up when it comes to that stage. Now the other thing is ejector pin marks. So if we look at this sprue as a whole, okay, what I did on the other one, on the other model, this one, I filled all these ejector pin marks here, all of these. I can't remember if I did these underneath here. I don't think I did. I did these in the seat, those in the back, these in the sides, all these here, all across here. I filled basically every ejector pin mark I saw. I'm now going to tell you don't need to. Okay, with these parts here, this is parts 7 to 11. Okay, you don't really need to do them at all. When you look down in these are those ribs going across the floor there. When you look down in vertically, you can't really see them. And then you've got, where's my pointer on? You've got these two in the middle here, one either side of the control column. Well, you're not going to see them because they're under the seat. These two here you're not going to see, they're under the seat. These have got the ejector pin marks facing outwards, so you can't see them anyway. And then these here are the only ones that really need to have the ejector pin marks done. So ejector pin marks done, sorry. So you could perhaps just do 2 off of the number 7s and then leave the others. The other thing to note that the instructions don't really show is when you look at these holes, they're slightly off center. You can see they're slightly, if you look at it, they're slightly off to the top there as you look at it in this photo. So basically what you need to do is make sure you get them the right way round, and basically what it is, they should be higher up. So if you look, there's actually a larger land there below the hole than there is above it there, and that part needs to be up. Okay, so make sure when you get them off the sprue you get them right around. These you can't go wrong because they've got steps in the end of them. These here, these you can't go wrong if you get the right numbers because they won't go in the wrong way around, but these could go either way, upside down, so just be careful with that. So we only need to do 2 of those. So what I'll do, I'm going to get a little red marker and I'm going to mark the ejector pins that we're going to do. Okay, so there's 2 of those. Okay, and then moving along here, we've got these 2 parts here we don't need to do because they're hidden underneath that part there. None of these need doing. On here I would recommend doing those 4. Those 4 at the top won't be seen, and they're quite tricky to get in around the rivet detail and that. When you actually look at the assembly here, those 4 there are way up high, and you're not going to see them because the instrument panel is going to block them out. So you could leave them. I might do those 2 there, we'll see. These here are in the back of the main bulkhead here. If you're closing if you're not having this hatch open in the bottom and you're not doing a cutaway or something, you don't need to do any of them. These here definitely need to be done. These 4, well, you don't need to do that one actually, but these 3 here definitely need to be done. And I would recommend, if you look at my other build, I filled this in as well. I'll do that on this one as well. They don't need to be done. There's nothing on there. There's nothing on there. If you're using, this is the dinghy that goes in the bottom of the seat. If you're going to use this, you don't need to worry about these. But just in case you don't, I would fill them anyway, because you may decide not to use that dinghy. These 4 on the back of the seat don't need to be done, they're hidden. These definitely need to be done. These are on the inside of the seat. Whether you use the dinghy or not, these 4 definitely need to be done. Okay, and I would recommend doing these as well, just in case. Now these are the rudder pedal supports, and as you can see when you look in, they're on the inside faces of them. Sorry, no, they're on the outside and the inside faces of them. Obviously the 2 on the outside, the ones on the outside don't need to be done, but the ones on the inside may just be seen, I don't know. So worth doing, and they're a fairly smooth part, so it's just a case of quick rub over the sanding stick, so you may as well, just in case. But as I say, they won't be seen, they won't be seen, they will, they won't. Those 2 there won't, none of these do. You don't need to do anything in these, you don't need to do any of those. So there we go. So you can save a lot of time there on ejector pin marks. So I'll go on and get some Mr. Surfacer in them, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've done all that now. I've filled these ejector pin marks that need to be done. So 2 of those 2, those 2, those there, and that one there. And that's it. Don't worry about any of the others. So that's that all done. So I'm happy with that. Right, now I'm going to start now, same as I did on the other one, get this fire extinguisher sprayed so that the paint can be drying while we're doing other stuff. So I'm going to get this painted the same as I did on the other one. I'm going to basically rub out the seams, and then I'm going to paint it yellow, and then I'm going to paint it red. Oh, and the other thing I meant to say, with these ejector pin marks, you could use filler, you could use thick paint, you could use many things to fill them. You could use super glue. I would seriously recommend against using super glue. As I said in the last video, this plastic is very, very soft, and if you use super glue, you are likely to rub the plastic away around the ejector pin marks. So just be mindful of that. You've also got to get in and be careful because of some rivet detail, which is quite close. I've just noticed there's some rivet detail on the inner seat here. Now, I've probably sanded that away on the other one. I didn't notice it, so that's probably gone. So I'll get on and get this painted yellow and then red, and then I'll be back probably once all this is dry on here. Right, so that's painted. There we go. I decided to use a gloss red on this one, so that should pull down and it should end up like a satin coat. So another thing I remember with this kit, this assembly here was not problematic, but needs to be done carefully. So what I'm going to do is assemble stage 2 before we start on step 1, and basically it's because of the join here on this part here. You got this gaiter is split in 2 parts, and when it goes together, it needs to sort of match up pretty well, because you've got there's like a flange around the bottom with bolts in it, and it needs to fit in there quite nicely. And on the other one, I ended up having to use quite a bit of Mr. Surface in there to get it to all blend in nicely. So I'll have to do the same on this one. We'll see. On the other one, it kind of didn't want to fit in there. Now this one appears to fit slightly better. No, it's too... There you go. It's too long to fit in there. It doesn't want to go in. Oh, there we go. It goes in with a nudge. So yeah, it's a very tight fit, and it needs a bit of a clean up because it keeps wanting to push itself away and sort of split in half almost. So I'll go on and get this cleaned up, get the seams done, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this part here, as I just showed you, it goes in and it wants to sort of push itself apart, and what you need to do is remove some material from the side here. Don't be tempted to take it from the bottom, take it from the side, and then what will happen is it will start to become a looser fit. It won't be so... There we go. Now it's not trying to push itself apart. On the other one, I made the mistake of taking something off the bottom and ended up with a bit of an issue around this area here, this seam. So now that's like that, we can just take our extra thin and put plenty in there to get a flooded, well not flooded, but an overglued joint, and then we can nudge that in there and hold it in place, and then do the same down here. And once you've got the glue on there, try not to touch the surface there, because you'll obliterate the bolt detail. Okay, so that's gone together lovely there. Just put some more glue on there, that will actually blend that out like so. Do the same here, and then if you go all the way around it, you can actually give it some texture, which when you paint it leather, you put a wash on there, the wash will pick up in the texture. And there we go. So it requires a little bit of attention, and it's worth getting good, because as you can see on this one, when you look down in the cockpit, it's sort of bang, it's there right in front of you, so it's worth getting it nice. So that's that part done. Now we can't really go on with anything else until the Mr. Surfacer dries and we can get these ejector pin marks sanded out, and I'm going to show you in this video how you make that little part in there, or how I do it, to fill that hole in, because I fear, I think I'm correct, that with that hole there, when you look down through that gap where the armour is, sorry, here I am, when you look down through that gap, I fear that you would see that hole. So certainly if you're going to be putting it in a contest or something, the judges will probably know that hole is there and they'll look for it, and if they see it and mine's next to you and it hasn't got it, they'll mark you down for it. So yeah, bear that in mind. Yeah, this Mr. Surfacer hasn't dried yet, so I'll have to give that a little while, and then we'll get those ejection pin marks rubbed out. Right, so the glue on here is pretty much gone off now, so what I'm going to do is get some Mr. Surfacer 1000, and I'm just going to dab it around these areas here and let it sink in. What I'm trying to do is get them to sort of match each side, because what happens is put some around the bottom of that stick as well. Some in there, some down there. What happens is the plastic part we've just put in doesn't look the same as this size and this side, and to me it kind of looks odd. So if we just put some Mr. Surfacer in there, then we can do the alcohol trick with that and let that once that's gone off. Right, so we've done that. Now just wipe my brush off. So we've done that. Now I've taken these parts off the sprue. This is the main bulkhead and the floor. Obviously we've added nothing to it yet. Now when we put this together, if you remember from my last video, what I've discovered is to know this is in the correct position, we need a dimension from the front edge of the floor to here of 71 millimeters. Now I don't like to use the end of a rule, I always start with 10. So we've got 10 there and 81 there. What we want is 71 millimeters from this corner here to this corner here. Okay, so if we place that on 10 like that, we should be reading 81, maybe 82 millimeters, 81 and a half, something like that. It's flexible anyway, but if you look at this one, what I've actually done here, if you look at the dimension I've got on this one, it is 81, so 71 millimeters from there to there, and that gives you the correct fit. When I first did this, it was too low down and I was having to pull it up too hard to make it meet the cowl on the fuselage. Now what I've done on that one, I had to cut it all about, if you remember, so now I know we've got an issue, so I can help you here guys with yours. A couple of pieces of 10 thou scrap, and they are 9 millimeters down from the floor face. Okay, so they're about 3 millimeters long. So 9 millimeters down from the floor face, 10 thou card, 0.25 millimeters, and then when you put that together, that just jacks out those gussets enough to give you the right dimension. Now I wish Airfix had done this in their instructions, because then I wouldn't have made a mistake the first time, because what they actually show you in the instructions here is they tell you to put the floor in and make sure it all lines up. Well, there's nothing to line it up with. I can show you that here now. You put that in like that, and that goes in there. Okay, now there's nothing to line it up with, so that floor can be anywhere. There's no like step that it goes on or anything. There's a step there, a lump there, but that's nothing to do with the floor. So basically it needs to be in there and sort of just above or just below this wing area here. That's what you're looking for to get the correct fit. So but basically what I've discovered is when you put the two fuselage halves together to get the best fit, if you go for 71 or 72 millimeters from there to there, when you measure it, okay, you can't go wrong. Alright, so that's my I think that's probably my most useful tip for the whole build so far. I hope I don't come across anything else like that, but right, I'm still waiting for this Mr. Surfacer to dry before I can rub it down, so I'll come back once that's dry and we'll get some get some rubbing down done. Hello guys, another quick tip for you if you didn't see my last video. This part here, part 38, is a very flimsy little plastic hose that actually goes under the seat. So it's best to remove this now from the sprue and put it somewhere safe, because basically if you're working on the sprue and you happen to be sanding and you push or something, you can see you'll easily break that part. So that's what I've done there, and I've cut that off of there, thrown it away, and then I've got a flat sprue then, so nothing's going to get damaged. So that's just another little tip that I learnt from the from the first kit. So I'll put that over there out of the way, and then I know it won't get damaged. I've started sanding the Mr. Surfacer, and yeah, you guessed it, I need to put some more in there. I'm just going to put a tiny little drop in there, and hopefully it will cover it up, and I'll go around and just check that I don't need to put any more anywhere else. The most important area that needs to be good is here on this armour plating panel, and the Mr. Surfacer it's just hard enough to sand, but as I've said before, the trouble is if you sand it before it cures, it's fully cured, all they do is seat back, so it'll show you the ejector pin markup anyway. So I'll put some a little bit more Surfacer in there, and then we'll get on and drill these out. Right, I've got a 1.2mm drill in my pin vise, and I'm just going to basically draw these holes out to improve their look. Not that we're really going to see much of them anyway, but hey, we've got to do something while that Mr. Surfacer's drying, and I don't really want to start pushing ahead and working out a sequence, because if I start doing that, then this video will turn into the other video series. So the other video series is always going to be first, and then this one will follow up after. So the other one will be, oh look, that bit doesn't fit. This one will be, right, we know this part doesn't fit, so let's make it fit. So yeah, that's how we're going to go. It's like that bulkhead that I showed you yesterday behind the cockpit. Obviously I used this kit part to show you that, so we won't be covering that again, and I probably won't even put that bulkhead in this one because it's going to be closed up. So I won't be building any of the radio gear, I won't do that water injection tank, I won't do the oxygen bottle, I won't bother with any of that because it's going to be locked up inside the fuselage, never to be seen. So no point whatsoever in doing that. Right, and there we go. So that's those drilled out. So now we'll move on, so I'll show you how to do how to make that, whoops, it's the wrong hole, 1.2, put those away. Right, this area here, I've got a vernier caliper, and in case you haven't got one, what I'll do is I'll tell you the dimensions, because your kit will be the same. So this hole is 3mm deep. It is 4.9mm wide, and at its highest point in the middle of the arch it is 6.5mm. So I need a piece 5 by 6.5 to go in there. So I'm going to get my box of scrap plastic card. You could use filler if you wanted to. I'm just going to find a piece of scrap plastic. There we go. Actually, I've got a bit thicker than that because I'll use this here. So what did we say we wanted? 4.9mm wide. So that's 7. So I'll get my rule, and I'm going to cut a piece of plastic, or cut this so that it's 5mm wide. And it doesn't need to be perfect. We can snap that off. and that should now go in there. Yeah, that fits. That is nice and tight, so we use that end. And then it was 6.26 millimeters long, so we're going to use, yeah, now I need to make sure this end is square. You can see it's not square, so I'm going to square it up using a sanding stick. And then we want just over 6 millimeters long. Like I said, I don't like using the end of a rule. You can make a mark there like that, get the knife, push down, and that's that gone. So when I come to put that in there, that should go in nice tight fit, yes. Now I'm going to get a coarse sanding stick, big flat one. This bench is turning into a mess, sorry. And I'm just going to roughly sand that arch shape onto the top. Like so. There we go, we got it roughly right. We're going to see if that fits in there. And it will do if I push it hard enough. Be careful not to have it too tight, because if you push it in and it's too tight, what it will do, it'll eventually split the plastic. Because you're going to force it in there, it'll be under all that load, and it'll just keep pushing it. It'll probably split the plastic up the top. So be careful about having it so that it's absolutely, you know, you've got to thoroughly wedge it in there. Now, we said it was 3 millimeters deep, didn't we? And this is 1 millimeter thick. So I need something 2 millimeters thick. I think that piece there is 2 millimeters thick. Yeah, I just need a lump of this, any old shape, just to go in the bottom. So I'm going to shove that in there. It won't fit, I've cut it too big. Yeah, it's too big. So I'm just going to get my cutters and remove part of it there. There we go. And then I'm going to get some glue, pop it in there. And then the best way to do this is pick it up with a knife. Just put it down in like that. Okay, so that should be absolutely fine. And then I can slot this into that hole. It still doesn't want to go because I've probably got it a little bit too tall. There we go, that's in there perfect. Run around there with some extra thin. Plenty of it so it soaks in and welds it in there. And then using the end of the rule, I'm just going to push down on it. And I know I can't get it in too far. And there we go, that's in. And then I'll let that go off, brush around with some Mr. Surfacer, and when we sand the rest of it, we'll be sanding that in as well. Now I'm going to clean up this area around the bottom of the control column, control stick. So I've got some Tamiya X20 thinner. You can use Mr. Colour leveling thinner, you can use any acrylic thinner really, you could use alcohol on a cotton bud, and I'm just going to basically go around, and I'm sure you've seen me do this a million times, but if this is your first build, you won't have seen it before. And all you do is go around with this cotton bud and just rub away at the Mr. Surfacer, and what will happen, it will take the Mr. Surfacer off of the surface and leave it down in that groove. And that's what we're after. We don't want to go sanding because we've got bolt heads and rivet heads or whatever they are around here. So we're just going to rub away with this Tamiya thinners. This is probably the least aggressive. So if you sort of want more time to remove some and sort of stop before it's too late, then this is probably the best way to go. Stuff like Mr. Colour leveling thinner, just like gone. It just dissolves it straight away. Some people use cellulose thinners. I would recommend very strongly against using cellulose thinners, especially on Airfix plastic, because it's so soft. Yeah, you can just remove any excess like that with something blunt, and then we can just rub down. Of course it doesn't need to be perfect because it's basically a leather or like a canvas gaiter held in with like a metal bracket, if you like, holding it in place. And I've got paint coming off my fingers onto the model there, so that's what that green is there. So I need to go and scrub my hands really. So that's that done, and you can see now that what's happened is the Mr. Surfacer has stayed in the groove but come out off the surface. So when we paint that, it'll look like this side. Okay. Just noticed something a bit strange here, guys. Remember on my other one, I showed you that on this fuselage half, on the left side, I had these jagged marks here on the spine. Yeah, and that sprue was that sprue connector was broken off. Well, on this one, the other one was broken off, and look, this one's got like a gouge taken out of it with a knife. So I started looking around, and on this sprue here, we've got a lot of flash. You can see all the flash here, and it looks like maybe someone's gone around here with a knife and carved it off, because we got these, see these bits here, and I'm wondering if they've got a flash issue with this kit in certain areas, and they're going around with a knife and just hacking it off. Yeah, because that certainly looks like someone's gone round there with a knife, doesn't it? Because it's got a kind of rolled over edge. There's no way that the mold tool could have produced that mold over edge, because that would be flat there. So yeah, very strange. So I've got a sharp knife rather than the blunt knife, obviously, that the person, wherever this was moulded, was using. I'm assuming it's India. I think all Airfix kits are made in India now. But yeah, there's flash everywhere on here. There was some flash on my other one, to be fair, but it wasn't this bad. So yeah, interesting. Right, we're ready to start building at last. Not been very long for you, but it's been a while for me waiting for all this Mr. Surfacer to dry. So if you remember, what we said we're going to do here, we're going to put these two D7s in the middle with no ejector pin filling on them, and then everything else hasn't got ejector pin mark filling, but these two that have got the filling are going to be in those places there. So we'll get on with that now. So what I'll do is I'll take these two off first, and we'll put them in first so that they so we don't get mixed up. I'm going to just get the sanding stick and just run over the ends. Like so. And then we can look at the parts and we can see that the holes have to be that way up. And when you look at the instructions, you can see that it's 3 holes forward, 2 holes back. So put that in there like that, and that just clips in and sits down and stays there. And then this one we'll do the same, clean the ends up. Or did I already do that? I already did that, I think. And we can see that on this one the holes are up, so that's going in that way. So that's that one in place. And now we can put this end one in D10. Turn the sprue over so we can see, and this is 10 here. So once again, sand the end, and then drop that one in, and you can see on that one the 2 holes that are closest together go towards the front. So that one's going to go in that way, and if you remember from my last build, I tried it, you can't put it in the wrong way. So you can in fact go on and cut all these off and just put them in. Alright, and then the other end is D9. Yeah, that's D9 there, sorry. Good old plain that D9, wasn't it? Okay, and that's going to go with the closer holes at the front. As you can see, the ejector pin marks are there, but you're not going to see them because the fuselage comes around here. Then we've got those two number 7s in the centre. And they're going to go 3 holes forward. That one's going to be that way up. And then 3 holes forward. That one's going to go that way. So that's those in. And then finally we've got the D8 and D11. So D11 is here. And D8 is here. And D8 is going on this side like that. And this one, D11, is going on this side like that. That one's popped out. So there we go, that's them all in. Now what I am going to do, I'm just going to pull these two D7s out, because if you remember, if you heard, when I put them in, they went in quite tight. So I'm just wondering if maybe they push the floor down, and that's what makes the problem with the fit in the fuselage. There we go. Then I can take some extra thin and just put a dab on the end of each one. And that'll be enough to hold it in place. There we go. So that's those in. I'm just going to put some cement here to hold those end ones, because they'll probably get knocked and pulled about. So that's step 1 done. Then let's look at step 2. That's done. Step 3, we're going to put this control column in. And if you haven't seen my other videos, you'll know that I've said the fit of this kit is kind of Wingnut Wings-esque. It's there's very little tolerance. So if you paint your parts first, you're going to have to clean the paint off all the tabs and everything, because you'll never get the parts to go together. And then that one there goes in that hole at the front. I'll get my quick setting on that one. Let that one weld in, like so. So that's that part in. And then we've got these two supports, both 12 and 13 here going in. So there again, they're a tight fit. I'm just going to get some glue into all those areas. Again, we've left the ejector pins on them because they're inside and they get covered up by the footrests. Okay, get the glue on the brush. There we go, got some now. It's always a fine line with this Tamiya extra thin. If the bottle's full, you take the brush out and it's all dripping everywhere. If the bottle's anything less than full, you sometimes have trouble getting it out. So just brush that down there, get rid of any oozing. And there we go. So that's that done. And now we've got this little part here, D5, which is the pipe work. And that's just going to drop in there like so. And I can put some liquid cement in there. And that's held down in place. There we go. That's that done. And then we move on to the main bulkhead here. And if you remember, I showed you before, when you get pipes like this which are molded on, they're generally just a D shape. So what I do to enhance them, take a sharp pointed blade and just run the blade along the back like so, and that will give it the impression of being a pipe on the surface rather than a molded on D shape. I don't think you'll be able to pick it up because of the grey plastic, but it certainly looks a lot more authentic after you've done that. Just do it again in there. And then I'm going to get some extra thin. Just run that round there. And if there's any little chatter marks or little furry bits, it'll take that away. But when that's painted, you'll see what I mean. So, right, we've already painted the fire extinguisher, so we'll want D17 now. D17 is this cover for the pipe work. And that goes on that way with the sharper angle off to the right. Just going to sand the edge to square it up. That's going to sit on there like that. There we go, that's in place. And then we've got D19 and D18, which are here. Now this D19 needs some careful cleanup. So we'll do D18 first. D18 is basically a little T-handle. That's going to go in there. And I seem to remember from the last one I had an issue with this not wanting to go in, so when I put some cement on it, it will attack the plastic, make it soft and make it want to go in. There we go. So that's gone in now, and then I can take my sanding stick or even a sponge and just take away the seam lines once it's on. There we are, job done. Now this part here needs some very careful cleanup because the sprue nib is actually where the sort of, if it was a cog, where the teeth are. It's not a cog, it's a hand wheel. One of them's in between, so we can just get in there with a knife and clean out. like so. And the other one isn't in between at all. There we go. So that goes on there. Now it's a very loose fit. I don't know why, but the pin is like 2mm and the hole is like 2.5. So just put it on there, get some glue in there from behind, and because I'm not having this one open, it doesn't really matter about any positioning or anything. And I'm just going to go around the outside with some liquid cement just to soften those sharp edges down. Like so. There we go. So that's that one on. So that's that step done, except for this part here, D36. Now, if you're going to be using the belts out of the box, I would still recommend doing this. Now, the way this is designed, this is the rear part of the belts. So this will go onto here, and then you'll fit the upper part of the belts, which are, where are they? Here, when the seat is in. So then you've got a join. So that will join with the belts like that. Yeah? I've got screw nibs on, that's why it looks like odd. So then you've got to deal with that join and everything after the seat's in and everything, and everything's going to be painted. So I've decided on my other one, I'm going to do the same on this one, to remove the belts from this rod, from this bar, and basically put them in afterwards, or use aftermarket belts, which I probably will be doing. So first of all, I'm going to take all the mold seam and everything off of this. Just make it like a round tube, because what they've done, they've squared off the inner edges, or the inner side of the tube, if you like. I'm calling it inner edges. It shouldn't be edges, it should be round. Okay, and there's a bit of mold seam down there, so we'll get rid of that. What I'm going to do is take these nibs off. I'm going to get the knife and I'm going to gently cut sort of 45 degrees down the back of that tube. I think it's nearly gone. What I'm trying to do here is preserve the belts. If I definitely wasn't going to use them, then I would just cut the belts off and sand away, but I'm trying to preserve the belts and the tube, so it's not the easiest of tasks, but there you go, it's doable. So it's come away. Now I'm going to do the same on this side, and I'll come back to you when I've done it. And there we go. As soon as I came off camera, I cut myself. That was a shame. I bet you'd like to have seen that. Anyway, so there we go. I can sand that round now. Sorry if you don't like the sight of blood. I apologise. There we go, all gone. I'm just sanding these lumps away now so I can get it back nice and round. Get the lovely soft, flowy, skinny sponge on here. And there we go. And that, my friends, is about that. I'm really sorry if you don't like blood. So I'm happy with that and how that looks. Just want to flatten that out. There we are, that's that job done. Now we can glue this in place. Sorry, it doesn't go in those holes, that was close. This one actually goes into D37. So put that in the spares box. I've got two boxes here now. I've got my, this is FAA and this is US Navy, so you can see on there. So it's always worth having these old curry trays, they're really handy. Now this part here, D37, is not going to be, is not going to be dry enough yet for me to rub down. So what we'll do, I think we'll call that a day there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get some black paint in there and then put some green on top of it, I expect. And then I can get this part here 226 on. And then we'll look at getting the floor and the bulkhead together on the next one. So I'll go away now, paint this floor black and everything, and then we'll come back, get it all together, and that'll be part 2. So hope you've enjoyed this. Few little hints and tips, few little bits I've shown you. The most important bit is that measurement. Remember, it's from that corner there to that corner there, 71 millimeters. You won't go wrong. Oh, and the other thing I need to tell you is this tube here is slightly too long, so you just need to sand it. What I'm doing is going back on an angle, otherwise when you come to put this together it fouls, and now it doesn't. Okay, so that's worth remembering as well. I'll go away and deal with this cut, and I'll see you all, I don't know, later or tomorrow. Bye for now.